What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into a Cleveland Browns mailbag edition. I'm answering questions that were asked during our live show, which airs Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. So come hang out with us if you have a question you want to ask. First question coming in from Joshua Miller. If Jameis Winston had started earlier in the season and we were 3-5 or 4-4 instead of 2-6, would we still have traded Amari Cooper? Josh, I'll amend your question for you because when they traded Amari Cooper, they weren't 3-5 or 4-4 because they couldn't have played 8 games at that point. But even if they had 3 wins, we'll say, or 4 wins at that point, 3 wins, I think they still trade him. 4, different conversation because they traded him. What was that, week 5 or week 6? They would have been 4-1 or 4-2. But I think the point I'm trying to make here is Amari Cooper was not contributing much to this team. He was not playing good football. But more importantly, because there's reason to believe, hey, give him some time, he'll work it out. The Bills gave him an offer they couldn't refuse. They gave the Browns a third-round draft pick, a quality day 2 pick, for a player that, on top of that good pick, was not playing very well for them to begin with. So even if you put the record aside, sure, if they had a winning record, they were not going to trade Cooper, even if he was not playing well, because you wouldn't rock the boat like that just for a third-round pick. But even if they were a 3-win team when the Bills called and not a 1-win team or a 2-win team, my guess is they probably would have gone, you know what? We're not off to a very good start, and you're giving us a really good offer. So maybe not 3 wins, but 2 wins. I still think Cooper is probably out the door. Super Bowl predictions. What do you think about a Denzel Ward trade? I would not trade Denzel Ward. I know that the injuries are concerning, and unfortunately, we are on another year where it is unlikely that Denzel Ward plays all 17 games, given his latest concussion. And again, we're filming this on Wednesday, so things can change by the time this comes out. But I still think Denzel Ward is a blue chip caliber player. I think he is an above average, very high quality starting player at a very important position. I mean, if you're looking at the last 5-6 years of NFL drafts, which positions are going top 10 more than anyone else? Quarterbacks, offensive tackles, corners, wide receivers, and edge rushers, right? 15 years ago, you get some more running backs mixed in there. You get some linebackers mixed in there. That's not the case anymore. We're seeing corners like Sauce Gardner and what's his face on the Texans. I'm blanking on his name, but a lot of corners going very early. So this is a position that's highly coveted. Derek Stingley, highly valued in the NFL. And for that reason, I don't think the Browns are going to move on from Denzel Ward because the first thing they're going to try and do is replace him. And they're going to have a very, very difficult time doing that. And I don't think the Browns are accepting a complete rebuild, which is what they would have to do if they were going to trade the Warden. Appreciate your question, though. Kathy, should we trade DTR? PD, remember I called it when I said 9-8 record. Let's hope, because I think 9-8 with the bad AFC this year gets you into the playoffs, but there's still a lot of football left, and I know the high is, way up there after beating the Ravens, but let's see if they can make it more than just a, one-off and make it more of a pattern. But should the Browns trade DTR? No. I don't think they should be sending any quarterbacks out the door unless it's named Deshaun Watson. Someone's even calling for Watson. They need to keep every single prospect in-house because they are looking for their long-term quarterback still, because we have not seen enough from Watson to believe he is a shoo-in to be this team's starter for the remainder of his contract. Pee-wee's Burnt Pizza. Would you try Jedrick Wills at right tackle as more natural position? I'm not opposed to it, but I don't want to do that at the cost of benching Jack Conklin. So let's say, God forbid, Conklin were to get injured, and if your only two healthy tackles at that point are DeJuan Jones and Jedrick Wills, it's probably not the best time to start playing experimentation. But if DeJuan Jones at that point was maybe playing pretty well at left tackle, and you're kind of giving up on Jedrick Wills at left tackle, what do you have to lose in a losing season by tossing him at right tackle? Well, that's what he played at Alabama. Now, he did play right tackle at Alabama because that was to his blind side. So that's why they had the thought of switching him to left tackle when he gets to the NFL. But, yeah, I don't think we've seen enough from Wills to believe he is a high-level, quality starting left tackle in the NFL. So for a losing season, if you like what you have at Jones at left tackle, what do you have to lose by putting Wills at right tackle? Xfinity, do you think we win? Do you think what? That's what I'm saying. Do you think we win our next 2 games? You got the Chargers, then you got the bye, then you have the Saints on the road. The Chargers are not going to be an easy test for the Browns because they are a very physical team in the trenches. That's how Harbaugh likes to play, and Buckeyes fans know that from his time at Michigan. And the Chargers coming off a nice win against a very bad Saints team, although by the time the Browns play Week 11, the Saints should be healthy, Derek Carr should be back, and Chris Olave should be back as well. So I'm going to say the Browns in this 2-game stretch here probably go 1-1. I'm not in the camp of they're about to rattle off 3-4 straight wins, and I know that makes me the biggest villain because why would I say something that's not positive? Because I want to be honest with you guys. And so I'm going to stay grounded, and that's my honest opinion. I don't think they're going to win the next 2 games here. I'm sorry. All right, before we look at the other questions you guys have for me today, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I really like about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, they offer the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Paradise Stevens, draft a wide receiver, please. So this year's overall draft class, as we talk about the draft in general, is not shaping up to be a tremendous one, which is kind of tough news for the Browns because they are in need to hit on some draft picks. But the draft is always a fluky thing. I mean, how many times do we think that's, take the Bryce Young, CJ Stroud draft class? Like, all those quarterbacks, only Stroud's good so far. So, how about you go back even further than that? Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. That was supposed to be Trey Lance, a star-studded quarterback draft class. And that wasn't a very good quarterback draft class. So, just drafts in general, sometimes when you think it's good, it's not. And when you think it's bad, it ends up being good. But when it comes to wide receivers specifically, we still have a long ways to go. And I think if we see good growth from Tillman the rest of the year and Judy continues to play at a high level, I would be on board with going best player available. And if it's not a wide receiver in round 1, then circling back to wide receiver in round 2. Because more often than not, you can get quality receivers in round 2, but you can't always get quality like edge rushers in round 2, right? There's usually a big drop-off for some positions after round 1. Receivers tend to have a little bit more depth. A.J. Brown's a good round 2 receiver. Deebo Samuel's a good round 2 receiver. Go look at some recent draft classes. It's tough to find good round 2 tackles and edge rushers. So if the Browns really want one of those guys, they might go for that in round 1 and come back to wide receiver in round 2. Your boy Ham, if Cedric Tillman, speak of the devil, continues to improve and the line plays better every week, do you think we should address the secondary with Ward's medical concerns? By address your boy Ham, I'm assuming you mean maybe add to the secondary, like trade for a corner. The NFL trade deadline is Tuesday, November 5th, so you are running out of time if that's how you want to address the secondary with Ward's medical concerns. So, fortunately, I think you're just running out of time. And at 2-6, I really don't think the Browns should be buyers. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if Andrew Berry brings someone in simply because he loves making trades. And if he feels like he can get a solid quality player with a number of years left on their contract to help him out in the future for a very low rate right now, I wouldn't put it past him to make a deal. Levi Mayfield, who's going to be the top receiver this Sunday? I'll stick with the hot hand. I'll go with Tillman. I mean, 15 grabs over the last 2 games. He's got over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, feed the hot hand right now. Give me number 19, Cedric Tillman. And man, as my Tennessee fandom, so happy that he is working out the last couple of weeks for the Browns. Taylor Elwell. Taylor, what's going on, dude? Who are the Browns going to take number 1 overall? I don't think the Browns are going to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. The Patriots beating the Jets might be enough to get them the number 2 pick. I think the Browns are going to be a team that finishes with the way they played before last week, 4 wins. The way they played against the Ravens could be as high as 6 or 7 wins. My guess is the Browns are going to be picking somewhere between 5 and 10. Jason Erb, Drew Aller in the second round, hometown kid, AFC North prototypical quarterback. There has been some level of, I wouldn't say smoke around it, but just more attention going to Drew Aller as a potential quarterback target for the Browns. As we talk about quarterbacks in general, just 2 things I want to relay. One, we are seeing an epidemic failure across the National Football League at developing young quarterbacks. It's not just Anthony Richardson getting benched. We have seen a lot of really young quarterbacks get the plug pulled on them quickly, and I think it's because there is so much pressure on coaches to deliver so quickly that if they feel like a veteran backup like Joe Flacco is better in the short term, they'll do that to avoid getting fired. That's not really the case for Steichen because he had a good first year, but other coaches that has been the case. So, as that was the first part about the young quarterback. So that I think could lead to this. Might see a lot of more college quarterbacks stay in college longer and develop more, going, man, I could go to the pros right now, and I could be a second or third round pick, but I could get benched really quickly and never have a chance to start. Or I could hang out in college for another year, get some good NIL money, and develop more, and go into the NFL a little bit more pro-ready, and then I can have a longer career in the pros, but I spend one more year doing homework. Pros and cons. But Drew Aller, I'm not opposed to adding a quarterback in day 2 of the draft. If there's someone the Browns really have their eye on, they should be looking into every single quarterback. For now, I won't quite give my seal of approval for the second-round pick to be Aller, but come back to me after this Ohio State game, and we'll see how he fares there, if he's healthy. XX Epic Jet. If some team is willing to trade for Watson, then cut him. How many picks would the Browns have to send to make that happen? He's got about $170 million dead cap hit. Let me look up what the NFL salary cap was for this year. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was $255 million. Guys, you can't devote $170 million to a $275 million cap. Like, that's just way too big of your pie to one player that's not even on your team. Right? You could divvy up the dead cap hit over 2 years, but still, it's an outrageous number. So, you're not cutting Deshaun Watson. The only way Deshaun Watson's not on this team next year is if the Browns tell him we're going to go forward with a different starting quarterback, and Watson says, okay, you can't release me because of my contract, so I'll agree to rip up my contract, which he won't do that. Why would he? And that way I'm freed from Cleveland and I can go compete somewhere else. That's not going to happen. Russell Wilson didn't do that. He got cut, and he got all of his money still, $35 million in cash from the Broncos this year. Joshua Miller, bonus question. Ooh, how do you like your steaks cooked? I'm a big medium rare guy. That's the go-to for me. If I'm at a very nice steakhouse, I might push it and go rare. I don't know. I'll stick medium rare every single time. And if I'm at a place where I don't really trust the steak too much, maybe I go medium. All right, but who you got for this upcoming Sunday? Browns or Chargers? Let me know in the comment section below. The Chargers have unfortunately had the Browns number as of late, whether it's in Cleveland or LA. They've been high scoring, and they've been in the Chargers' favor. So for this week, I'm going to go with the Chargers. Let me know who you got down below in the comment section, though.